When I was younger, my dad used to whoop my ass. And I'm not talking about spankings or whoopings. I'm talking about domestic violence. And my dad was like 6'5", 300 pounds, so nothing I could do. And it's not just the physical abuse either. It's the mental abuse that sticks with you. It grows with you. It shapes who you are, how you feel about yourself, shapes the decisions you make. It takes a very long time to get over stuff like that and get to a point where you can move forward and move past it. But a lot of us have experienced that in our youth. Very hard to talk about, which is why I'm super appreciative of my next guest, Gabriella Kreuz. She's a freelance TV broadcaster in Cleveland, Ohio. She's the host of the Cleveland Indians, someone who has dealt with domestic violence, survived domestic violence, and go on to start her own nonprofit organization called Love Doesn't Shove, which is a dating violence education program where she goes around to the local schools and talks to students and faculty about domestic violence and how to grow from it and get past it. Gabriella and I sat down and talked about not only her experiences in freelancing and how to get started and involved in that, gives us some really cool tips on that, actually, some tips that I'm definitely going to take from her. But also she talks to us about her experience with domestic violence, and she shares her opinions on what it takes to get over it, get past it, and move on. So welcome to the Optimize You podcast, aka The Oi. Hey, we come here to learn together, laugh together, and grow together. You know how we do. We get deep, but we stay fun. I'm your host, Zach O'Ryan. Let's go. Gab Kreuz.
What's happening?
Tell me something weird you've been doing during quarantine.
I guess it's not that weird because I'm sure the world is also binging on things, but I've been unhealthily binging on Pixar movies. Like, not documentaries, crazy crime shows. I rewatched Monsters University 3 times.
Yeah?
Yes.
Did you
so good.
Monsters University is great. Unbelievable. I've been watching a lot of cartoon movies too. I watched Moana yesterday.
Oh, that's a good one.
Moana's a fun one. It's just weird. Moana's weird because I hear The Rock's voice, and then it takes me out of the cartoon for some reason. Because I'm like, I know that guy. I've been listening to that voice since I was like 8.
Oh, so you're having a hard time separating?
Yeah, I have a hard time separating that. When I'm watching a cartoon, I want to have no idea who is speaking.
Really?
It pulls me out. I can't separate it.
No. See, for me with Monsters, Inc., I have to have a John Goodman Sully.
Oh, yeah. You know
and
what?
Billy Crystal as Mike Wazowski, I'm like, that's just... I would be disappointed if it was any other voices.
So you're right. And I guess what I'll say to that is, I think they can't have had so much influence on my life when I was young.
Okay.
Because then it's just like I can't... are you kidding me? The 90s, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, I can't hear The Rock it's just like me. I can't hear The Rock in a cartoon and just not think about him rock bottoming and giving the people shit. Can you smell? I can't not separate that. But John Goodman's dope. You're right. And then Billy Crystal, I don't hear Billy Crystal's voice and think anything from my childhood.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's probably good. I think if you think about Billy Crystal from your childhood, something bad happened.
Something's messed up there.
Something bad happened. No, that's fine. Everyone's doing some weird shit in quarantine. People are buying puppies.
Puppies are a hot thing right now.
I'm seeing a lot of puppies popping up at the park.
Mm-hmm.
What if you had to have one quarantine animal, what would you get?
I say this not because I just finished Tiger King the other day, mind you. But this has been an animal that my coworkers can attest I have wanted for 3 years since I laid eyes on a baby skunk.
A baby skunk?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got 2 of those in the alley.
Oh, well, okay, if you have the alley kind, I guess I'm like a nose in the air kind of skunk connoisseur. It's got to be... I forget the term, but de-skunked baby, basically, they
pull the glands out.
Correct. He's got to be no spraying.
So I grew up down south. We had raccoons.
Oh, those are... My friend just sent me videos of there's this cute little raccoon cluster near her work, and they're so adorable. Raccoons are really cute, too. But raccoons are feisty, though.
They're feisty, but they're super cute, and they can grab shit. They got posable thumbs.
Mm-hmm.
They can open doors and shit. They're super cute.
Oh yeah, definitely cute.
Our neighbor called animal control on us.
Oh really? What were you? Were you trying to domesticate your raccoons or something?
We domesticated. We had leashes for them and everything. Well, we didn't have. I swear, we had kitty leashes. I swear, I'll send you pictures, Gab Kreuz. I swear. Actually, here's the craziest thing.
Like Pocahontas, you basically had a pet raccoon. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've had a pet raccoon.
I'll give you $4 if you can name the raccoon from Pocahontas.
I'm out, and I want that $4. I'm out. Nico. What is it? Nico. That's a good raccoon.
I think it's name. Nico, or it's Miko.
Might be Miko.
Might be Miko. Yeah.
That man.
Miko. It's
I had a raccoon. I had a squirrel. I had my mom bought what she thought was a teacup pig that ended up just keep growing. So it wasn't a teacup pig.
Yeah, there's no such thing really, I heard.
Pig. Yeah. That thing got to the size of almost like a Labrador. We were like, oh, we got to get rid of this. So we had that.
Did you have bacon?
But yeah, I've had, no, we didn't eat it. I would have. I mean, I didn't get too attached to that pig.
I'm kidding. I would if I got it. Oh yeah, oh man.
No, but we had raccoon. My mom has had like 3 raccoons. I only had the 1 raccoon.
So like they came in the house when you say had them, like
they were in the house.
Oh,
slept in the house, just ran around.
No way. I can't even believe this right now.
You take them to the vet. Like, if you take your raccoons to the vet will take care of them. I don't know about up here, but down south, the vet will take care of them for sure. Absolutely. You need shots.
Didn't you have to have a special license? I've looked into it. To own a skunk, I have to have a license.
Oh, yeah, you're supposed to.
Because it is an exotic animal.
Yep, you're absolutely supposed to, but we did not. And our neighbor found out, and she was not cool with that shit. No, we had to get rid of it. And then we had a squirrel. My mom killed a squirrel. She fed it a banana. She denies that to this day. But
she fed it a banana and it keeled over?
I think so. I think that's what happened. She gave it too big of a banana piece. The squirrel choked on the banana and died. She denies this story to this day, but I'm telling you that's exactly what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
The classic choked on the banana.
Our squirrel was sweet, too. You'd come home from school and you open the front door, and we had it in like a bird cage, but we'd leave the front door open of the bird cage so we could like get out whenever it wanted. So we'd go in there when it'd sleep, but other than that, it was just running around and jumping around. It was parkouring all over the house while we were at school and work.
Wow. Could you cuddle up with it?
Yeah, as much as it's going to let you. It's like,
See, skunks are cuddly. That's why I love them.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that?
My infatuation started when, I work for the Indians. We've got a kids' fun day on Sundays, and there's this guy, Jungle Terry, who comes in every Sunday. He has for years. But my first year working there, I never had any. I didn't know Jungle Terry was a thing. He brought all his animals. He had a baby little black skunk.
Yeah.
And named Coco. This thing, he's my baby. Like, I love him so much. We grew attached to each other. And then I start learning about skunks. He's like, oh yeah, like they're very easy to be domesticated. They can use a litter box. They eat the same food as humans. Like, they are easier to take care of. They kind of get into stuff. From what I've been told, from what I've Googled. But they're a lot like having a cat.
I can imagine that. I would be like, if I had to relate having a skunk to anything, it'd probably be a cat. But I wouldn't want to have a cat either, though, so that's where I'm out.
Yeah, I don't. That's weird because I would never have a cat, probably.
You're just a skunk person.
But a skunk, he's so cute. You just don't understand until you kiss his little face.
I would probably like a skunk. I'm an animal person, so I would like anything that would just stay here with me.
Yeah, I like
if it didn't want to run away, I'd get attached to it. What about, I've got roommates. You have any roommates?
No.
So you don't have roommates running around annoying you. The thing about the quarantine that I've noticed is that now I talk to the people that I don't talk to every day, 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, my mom is calling me I'm talking to my mom 2-3 times a day. I'm talking to people from high school again. Hey, how's it going? You got time on your hands? I got time on my hands. What are you doing this morning?
Yeah,
Who is annoying you the most?
Who's annoying me the most? It's a tie between my sister Bree and my dad, but they're also my favorite. So this is where it gets awkward. Like,
that's how it happens.
I'm so emotionally dependent on them.
That's
During
usually
this
how
time?
it works. Yeah. That's usually how it works. I'll get annoyed and I'll be like, damn, I don't ever want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them for a week. And then the next morning I wake up and be like, I want to talk to them right now.
Oh, okay. See, mine's not even that long. Like I'll get in a tiff with my dad over stupid stuff. We're too alike. Like we forget shit everywhere. We can't find the keys. We'll leave to go for a run together, and he'll forget his phone, so we can't GPS track. So we have to go back home. Like little stuff like that, where I get irritated in the exact characteristics that speak to me as my own flaws, because I've inherited them from him. So I can only get mad at him for like 5 minutes because I'm like, this is why I am the way that I am, and I can't even get mad about this. I love you. Just let's go take 2 for our little joggy jog.
Right. I'm a seed of yours. I feel you. I understand you.
Yeah.
Gab, you're a TV broadcast host. I met you in Cleveland. Do you remember when I met you?
I think I was at a stand-up show.
Where was that at? It was in Lakewood.
It was in Lakewood?
It was in Lakewood.
It was like near my birthday, actually, because I was with my friends, but I don't remember.
Yeah, there's like a whole table of you. You were kicking it. We were all having a good time. It was super fun.
Yeah.
It was like my 3rd show ever. That was when I first started stand-up.
Okay, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know who was there. Was Bill there, Bill Squire?
Bill Squire was there.
Maybe that was the reason I went. He might have roped me into, hey, come watch a show, and so we went.
Yeah, because you know Bill because you're a TV host for the Cleveland Indians.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that come about? What's your whole... Gab, introduce yourself to the world. What do you do?
I would like to introduce myself. I'm a freelancer, so I kind of am a mixed bag. I jump around. I graduated in 2015, and there was an opening for the Cleveland Indians. It was an audition. Mm-hmm. So I went through the audition. And actually, I was late to the audition. Apparently, there was something I had to do in January.
How did you find out about the opening?
I found out about it because somebody in a department separate from scoreboard, where the opening was, but in the press box communications department, I knew somebody in that department who said, "Hey, I heard there's an opening in this department."
And it was for a host or personality, or?
Yeah, they needed a female ballpark host. Actually, they needed both. Yeah.
Nice. And you were like, I like the Indians. Let me go shoot for this.
Yeah. I was actually pretty nervous auditioning. I wasn't sure at the time what I was more nervous for. Getting rejected because I needed a job out of school, or getting the job because I was like, whoo. They were like, so what's the biggest crowd you've spoken in front of?
Yeah, what'd you say?
And I'm like, I was like, so I was the student council president in high school, so I don't know what I said. I must have. That's the only thing I can think of, is maybe that's the biggest thing I've spoken in front of some different grades at school.
Right.
So I was actually kind of terrified when I did get the job, but you just kind of.
How was the audition for that? Were they like, hey, here's a mic, go stand in the middle of this packed Indian stadium and talk to people?
Well, that's the part of the audition that I missed. So I was late to applying, but I sent in my reel, so they could look at other things. Because I did have put together sort of a news and sports reel, which that is just you and the camera, really, but still it showcased, okay, you can kind of chat on the fly. But the part of the audition I missed was that they had you host some part of their annual winter get-together called Tribe Fest. Mm-hmm. It's for the fans.
Yeah.
So I missed that, so I didn't have to do that part. So my audition was going in front of 3 people, just the people hiring, and they threw a couple things at me, and I had to do it off the fly or whatever.
Nailed it.
I will be honest, you know how it's weird. I left the audition for whatever reason. I was giggly that day. I felt my personality and everything was landing. They loved me. I remember walking away thinking I had a very good interview.
Yeah.
I was surprised, though, when it really came to fruition and I got, the email back. But I do recall walking away thinking, I really like these people, and I think they like me, too. I enjoyed hanging out, and I forgot it was an interview.
Yeah, isn't that cool how that happens? I audition around here, and it's... Sometimes I'll leave the room, and it'll just be, because of, the ambiance of everything around me, like I try to exert my energy in every situation that I'm in, but I also, by doing that, I'm like opening up that void, right? So I also take in a lot of energy. So if the energy around me in the audition room, like I've left a lot of auditions and been like, who the fuck was I in there? That was not me. I don't know what that was. But then sometimes I'll leave auditions and I'll be like, if I don't get that, I don't know what happened. And then I won't get it. But it'll be fine.
I usually that's what's bizarre is that for my commercial auditions, I feel like I could give my best 110%. They could maybe even compliment me on the way out, and I never bank on getting it because I just feel like commercial auditions are totally different. What about, so when you're saying you audition, what do you audition for?
Commercials mostly.
Okay,
commercials,
yeah, so commercial auditions.
Commercial auditions. Some TV shows, and then like the show auditions are the hardest because with the commercials, usually it's just you. They're like, oh, here's a mic, go up there and talk. And you're like, oh, this is my favorite vacuum cleaner. Look how I sweep the floor. Dun, 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 dun. But then when you got to read with someone, like you walk in there and you got to be looking at her and she's reading to you. And usually the reader doesn't give a shit about your emotional attachment to this piece. So now like they're just trying to get to the next person and you got to stay in full emotion. So you're in a scene where like you're in love, right? And it's like, Margaret, I've missed you for so long. And she's just like, yes, Stanley, it's been forever. This is the saddest day of my life. And you're just like, oh, and there's like no emotional attachment there. And you just have to stay in. And you leave there and you're like, oh shit.
For sure.
So you're the TV host for the Cleveland Indians, but you also, so what's the market for like a freelance host? Like how do people find you? How do you market yourself?
I think that sort of came as a byproduct of actually getting the Indians job, and I didn't know it at the time. Like I'm kind of a hustler in general, but so I did knock on Sports Time Ohio's door and asked if I could be a production assistant. So I was like answering phone calls for one of their shows, running live. Yeah. And I was sideline reporting for high school football, which was miserable. Not because of the job, but I don't like being cold. Like it was brutally difficult for me to stand on the sidelines through high school football. And I did that for like 3 seasons. So I was like doing little odd things like that didn't pay much, but it sort of helped build a little web of connections slowly. One person would remember me from this and then ask if I would do that. So once Sports Time Ohio saw me work at the Indians, because they actually cover the Indians, and I expressed that, I actually do want to be on camera, they so happened to bring back a show called Beer Money, which is a sports trivia show. We get a lot of weird characters on that show, but they did ask if I wanted to co-host the show, so I got roped in that way. And then actually their social media team separately asked me if I would want to do they were doing this trial of kind of reporting but presenting sports in a fun way on social media. We were doing these like short videos, kind of skits. Some of them were like the 5 people at your Super Bowl party, and I would come in and dress up in different things and so that was more of a fun thing. And it kind of just branched out from there, because then I met somebody at Channel 19, came up to me at a ball game and said, hey, would you want to do some feature work, feature segments that are at the station? So I got roped in there and kept pushing the little commercial work. I'll try to audition when I can, and if you get something great, you know how that goes. You just throw in darts, you see what sticks. Yeah. And you can put that in your pocket too. So I kind of just bounce around, because you have to hustle. Once you get into freelancing, you got to like keep your gigs rolling, because some might get cut. So then you got to look for the next one. And ironically, God's always got my back, because I swear as soon as one thing cuts, another thing pops up. And I'm like, whew, like that just happened. Sports Time Ohio, they don't have a sponsor for Beer Money anymore. So that's on the back burner. I don't even know. I'm just not banking on it coming back, because who knows. And then same with the social media thing. With the way sports just shut down, that's not even a priority. So I cast those 2 aside, and then luckily someone in the sales department at Sports Time Ohio reached out, somebody from this wine company, or they work for Labatt's, but they cover a lot of alcohol drinks, reached out to their sales department and asked if I'd be interested in being a brand representative for this wine company. And then that actually ended up being monetarily substantial for me to pick off of. But like that's the kind of it's crazy because you'd think it would be like, oh, it's just a bunch of hard work. You knock on a bunch of doors, and I've done that when I've had to. But for the most part, it's been a lot of just timing shit, and I got lucky.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Well, I don't even know if it's okay. Like lucky's one thing, but at the same time, like you give yourself the credit of putting yourself in the position to have the luck. Does that make sense? So like if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not networking, if you're not making yourself the commodity and yourself the product, you're not going to come across people's minds to be, oh, this Gab can do this for sure. But it's like what I've learned is like when you establish yourself as the product, right? You market yourself as like, I'm the business. I can do this. If I can host the Cleveland Indians and if I can do beer money and I can do all this other stuff, I can do all this other stuff. I'm the product, right? So you want me to push this, and I think that's really cool. That's a great way to live because then it just opens up so many different avenues for you. So like you said, one thing falls through, people know that you do that. You built up that network. There's so many other opportunities that can fall right into your lap.
Yeah, I mean it's scary at the same time because I feel like there's risk and reward involved. But like you said, once you kind of get your product established, like at least in Cleveland, we're kind of small. There's a high chance you might recognize me from maybe an Indians game or maybe that Elyria Hyundai commercial or possibly on Channel 19 just because we're smaller. So I think it was a little bit easier for me to establish my product around here. So it's just worked out that way where luckily, I don't want to jinx it now.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm grateful that I've been thought of for a couple other positions that have helped me out.
Well, that's awesome. And then it seems like you're also putting that energy that you're receiving back out there. You started a nonprofit, right? Called Love Doesn't Shove? Mm-hmm. What's that about?
So the ironic part about Love Doesn't Shove is that was never even part of the plan or cards. Like I was never going to be like, oh, I'm going to build a nonprofit. But that's been like probably the most rewarding part of all of my work because I guess I am somebody who really does have to feel like I'm helping other people.
Yeah.
That is a huge part of quarantine that's rocked my world. I feel like I am not, some of my purpose feels a little bit lost. I'm not entertaining you. I'm not people pleasing you. I'm not giving to you. I'm not, like, I guess I'm such a need to have people so that I can feel like I'm doing something of service.
Yeah.
If you will. So that's been the weirdest part of my identity change since quarantine. But yeah, Love Doesn't Shove is basically a dating violence education program. And I've developed like a couple different styles of presentations. And it's like ever evolving. But basically one is more of an interactive in the classroom type conversation. I get the kids involved doing stuff or it's going to be an assembly. The school wants like a full assembly, just trying to get the most number of people. So then that's more of like a TED Talk style with questions and answers at the end. But the whole goal is just to help start an interactive dialogue with young people about the dynamics of healthy relationships, just because honestly it's not common sense, especially if you come from an environment that's not that healthy. You're either more likely to perpetrate those unhealthy behaviors when you go build relationships with other people, or you're going to be more tolerant of those unhealthy behaviors when you build relationships with people. So I just think it's super applicable to life. They don't teach you that in school. And when I graduated John Carroll, or my senior year, there was just something inside me that was like, why aren't we talking about this? Because I think it's really important. So yeah, I mean, I had personal experiences that played into it, and you know, that panned out with my very first boyfriend, my high school sweetheart. But some of this unhealthy pattern like extremely escalated to the point where it was like an embarrassing physical assault when I was at school, and then this like another student called the police, and then we had the restraining order. It just got so messy. Then I had to tell my family, then I had to tell my friends the reality of what was going on, because a lot of it was me living a double life and justifying for his behavior and shit, and it was so confusing, and I didn't understand what was going on. Like at no point would I have ever been like, oh, I know I'm in an unhealthy relationship, or I'm in that cycle of abuse. Didn't cross my mind, because I come from a blended family. We have so much blended family drama and unhealthy shit. Like I love everyone, but when your normal is like chaos and dysfunction, you don't realize how easy that is to emulate in your other relationships. So it basically took that experience and a lot of support thereafter, like awesome. So like I have amazing friends, and got a little bit of help through that situation, and I just felt like once I was enlightened, like I switched my minor to sociology, and I was taking these classes like family violence and gender studies and things. It was like healing, actually. I was like, wow, I'm learning so much. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because this is very helpful information. So I was like, we need to have a conversation. So that's where the concept of Love Doesn't Shove came about. I was like, let's start this conversation. Maybe it'll help people, because it has helped me learning this stuff.
That's awesome. So how do you go about, did you know it was going to be a nonprofit the whole time? Did you just have this like idea in mind? You wanted to start this?
No, I didn't know it was going to be a nonprofit. My senior year, so that whole, my personal experience came to its pinnacle my sophomore year. There was that like situation with my ex-boyfriend at school. It basically was like an all-night fight, but it escalated. Like he was trying to choke me and stuff, and somebody called the police. So it was like very just wild. Yeah. And that was my sophomore year. But
high school.
Senior of college.
College.
We started dating in high school.
Okay.
But my senior year or my junior year rolled around. Like my friends were telling me I'm not the same.
Yeah.
I was very defensive for a while. Like I was always ready for an argument. I was always ready to, I just wasn't, my friends were verbalizing. They were telling me, you're not the same. Like, this is what we don't like that's happening.
In the safety of your relationship, you're just used to arguing, and you're on edge, and you're ready to argue. So then that translates.
I was so primed. I was so primed to always be on the defense, because he'd always be accusing me of shit that was fabricated and not real. Yeah. Like, if I was at the library for too long, it would be like, well, who was at the library with you? Were there guys there? Was so-and-so there on your track team? Because I know he has a crush on you, and I don't want you to talk to him because, like, it was exhausting. But I was always ready to defend myself because, like, I wanted to prove. I just always had to be on the defense. And I think that carried over even after the relationship. I was always feeling like I had to, or maybe I was taking it out on people because I don't know. But my friends were very candid in telling me, it came to I tried to quit the track team, and I made it this big thing, and I like yelled at the coach, and it was an ugly time for me. That's when all my friends were like, what has gotten into you? Yeah. And so that's when I was like, maybe I need a little bit of help, because the school had offered me help my sophomore year, but I didn't take it because I was like, no, you guys don't understand. We really love each other. We're just so passionate. Like, you don't understand our dynamic. Like, I was a little ignorant at that point. Yeah. But by senior year, I actually took the school up on, I like got in this anonymous support group. It was outside of campus, so nobody had to see me like walk into the counseling center. So I was like, all right, let's see what this support group's all about. And that really helped me understand like so much. It was so healing to hear from other people too and their experiences, because I was like, oh wow, so it's not my fault. Like, it's not my fault. Like, if I don't text back in 5 minutes, that's really not a punishable offense. Like, little stuff I was learning in that support group helped me so much that when I started Love Doesn't Shove, it was not about being a nonprofit. It was actually about fundraising for the Cleveland Domestic Violence and Child Advocacy Center, which was the support group that was provided to me through that organization. So I was like, I just know they do incredible work because I feel so healed. Like, from this helpful resource, that I was like, let's start a conversation on campus, make it positive, raise some money for this amazing organization. So that's where it started. It was really about helping DVCAC and not forming my own thing. That kind of came a little bit later, and with the help of my friends.
That's incredible. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but I think that's super cool that you took that awful moment in your life and then you just try to turn it into a positive. Did that come about after you started doing freelance hosting and working with the Cleveland Indians?
No, actually it came before anything.
Anything?
Yeah, before graduate school, and actually before graduating John Carroll. So I just kept it going, and
How'd that help? How'd that make you feel starting something like that? Did that help while you were simultaneously helping other people? Was it helping yourself as well?
Yeah, because it was helping me stay away from him. It was helping me validate. It's so hard to separate your brain and emotions.
Yeah.
And because when I go in, I go all in. And I'm very emotionally attached. And I am a perfectionist. I want to please. I'm such a people pleaser. I want to do the best that I can. I want to be enough. I want to be perfect so that you don't cheat on me, so that you don't put me down, so that you don't keep doing. But the reality was, I really had to understand that there's nothing I can do to change that other person. So even by verbalizing that or sharing some of this information with other people, it was helping me on the inside too. Remember, this is your standard that you really need to live up to, and you have to practice what you preach, because if you don't, then you're gonna be less credible. So
yeah,
it also helped hold me accountable and just not going back to this very toxic cycle of let's break up, let's make up, let's break up, let's make up, and all that.
Yeah, that's cool. And like you said, there is a cycle there, right? So when you're preaching and you're helping people, hey, this is what I've been through, right? So this is what you can go through, and these are the steps you can take to get out of it. It is at the same time just refreshing your memory and keeping your own gears spinning so that you don't fall back into that cycle, right? So it's like this continuous loop of self-service combined with helping others. And I think that's the beauty to building a network when it comes to, people that have similar interests or similar tragedies that they've experienced in life, is that no matter the speaker, no matter where the voice is coming from, when you open that lane of communication and you can put energy out, just like we were talking about earlier, when you're putting energy out, you're going to be accepting energy, and it's just kind of like you're teaching yourself at the same time when you're staying true to your beliefs, your experiences, and your passions.
Yeah, for sure. And there's no better feeling than feeling like you helped somebody else. That's what keeps me coming back. And all you need is that one person after a presentation or during, or it's written feedback, and I start reading them and I'm like, wow, that's why I do it. I'm happy this helped you. This is exactly the point. So, yeah, it's very rewarding to feel like you are helping. That's just the biggest takeaway of this whole random project that eventually evolved into a nonprofit.
And through everything you've been through, you're such a bubbly, happy, great personality to watch. I watch your Instagram. I saw you on the Beer Money show that you were doing. I would see that when I was in Cleveland. Yeah. I see you host stuff on the Cleveland Indians. I was like, dude, if this girl starts stand-up, we're all screwed. if Gab starts stand-up, we're all fucked. But no, you're super, and you never know these underlying things that are happening in people's lives, and I think that's super cool that you started this foundation. It's called Love Doesn't Shove. Where can anyone find that?
lovedoesn'tshove.org is the website, but I'm pulling that social media game too.
Yeah.
I got a little Twitter action and Instagram and Facebook. It's the same name, Love Doesn't Shove.
And you said the support group DVCAC?
So they're changing their name because it's long as hell, but I don't know when. But right now it is the Cleveland Domestic Violence and Child Advocacy Center.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. A huge helpful resource in the community. They do free counseling, free support group, free shelter, free legal advocacy. They handle everything, and it's not just for women. It's for anybody, which is a huge storyline in Love Doesn't Shove, is that it's really not a women's movement or anything of that nature. It's super gender neutral, and it's focused on the behaviors, because we see the behaviors perpetrated both ways. It really doesn't matter what gender, how much money you make, nothing like that.
So do you see men coming in as well as women, and you communicate with both?
Yeah, it's crazy. Probably, and I hate to say the most rewarding part.
Yeah.
But I just know my limitations. So you got to keep in mind, if I go into a school, I'm a female. So
right.
Automatically, I'm not the same as a male. My message, just right off the bat, they could turn their ears off just because, here's some woman who's going to come in and try to tell us how we're the problem. I always have to almost preface. I spend the first 5 minutes of my presentation winning the entire audience. And I can judge, I can feel it out almost immediately. but my main goal is to win the audience with my energy and personality, and to or I guess like break any stereotype of what they might have had about my tone and the way that I was going to present my material, so that I have a better chance of them listening. And the greatest reward has always been when men or boys come share with me after, or wrote it down for the written feedback part. Because I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's cool if I resonated with the audience that hypothetically I'm not going to have as much of a chance resonating with.
Well, and I've learned this through stand-up. The most rewarding thing for me, at least, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is getting your message across without pandering to someone that you, in a normal situation, based on society's views and perceptions, would probably not have too much in common, especially in the context of what you're discussing. And when you can get that point across just by being true and speaking through your experiences and then connecting with that person, there's no better feeling than that. So I can totally understand how that would make sense. Gab, what do? You talked about you spend those first 5 minutes connecting. What's like, have you found like one key thing that you try to harp on to be like, okay, I've got to connect with everyone in this room real quick. Here's one thing I'm going to definitely make sure I do when I get on stage. Because like, for instance, and I'll give you an example, like my thing is I open up with just open energy, open stance, open posture, open, very loud, very action, very active. And then when I get comfortable with the audience and they're like, okay, this is a fun situation, then I start discussing like some heavier topics
with the idea that like, hey, we're all here with an open mind. What's your like go-to if you're going to talk? Because you speak in front of
we're all here with an open mind.
My go-to is almost similar in that open. I want to bring energy and my smile and my mannerisms right away. Because one thing is I can't naturally, I let my mannerisms kind of take over. I feel the crowd based on, it's almost, and you have to know this too, like you can almost feel it right away, like what you're dealing with. So if I have a quiet crowd that's maybe intimidated because they just had the principal be the worst opener of all time for me, because they just did a whole sermon about how you need to sit still and be quiet because this is a serious topic, because blah blah, which is the worst open of all time. So that means I have to do Operation Cleanup.
Hey, we got a fun guest coming in here. Everyone shut the fuck up. You're like, oh like, shit.
I just like, sometimes I just want to be like, take it over and be like, okay, screw everything you just heard from this person. Because start over. That's not like, that wasn't my choice of winning the crowd. So I do have to do like an Operation Cleanup sometimes, and it is all about bringing the energy. And then if I have that intimidated crowd, I try to pose an open-ended question and let them start guiding me. So that way when I can work with the crowd and get to know them one-on-one, or you can poke with somebody. There's ways to make humor in what I'm talking about. But it's hard because it's not an exact duplicate copy every single time. Every crowd is different. Every personality that I might be jawing back and forth with is different. So sometimes it's a complete home run, and sometimes I'm like, all right, that was middle of the road, but we're gonna have those.
Oh yeah, we gotta get you a mic. We gotta get you to start doing some stand up, Gab Kreuz. You'd be great.
There was a point in time when I really thought like maybe I should do that, but
well, you sing, right? You make music.
I make music. Yeah, you could say I sing. I love singing, and I just
give us something right now. Give us something.
Let me give you. This is my world, go head down me, plot twist, the girl made it, major league.
Hey, shit, Gab Kreuz.
You can check out my world on iTunes, Spotify, all your streaming services.
What's your handle on that?
But I have, I've got a couple songs on there, Light as a Feather, and I Cry is a really great new song that I cry. Like, that's a good song. So all these ones, go check it out. They're healing, they're fun. One's a little sassy, one's a little like more meaningful, and one is like more lovey. So we got variety here. Gabriella Kreuz on Spotify, all the streamers.
Gab, you're a TV
Apple Music and such.
TV broadcast host. You have your own nonprofit. You sing. You're warm. You're incredibly entertaining to watch. You're a great person. If you had to give one piece of advice to anyone, let's pretend I'm working at let's pretend I'm doing something that I probably don't have too much interest in. Actually, let's do this first. Real quick. Tell me one moment where everything kind of seemed lost and you felt like, shit, man, I gotta get out and do something totally different. Maybe the nonprofit wasn't doing well, or like the broadcasting that wasn't doing well, and you were like, I gotta stop focusing my energy on here and focusing my energy somewhere else. And then what brought you back to, like, when did it all seem lost, and like how'd you dig in and get yourself out of that?
That's a good question, because when I was reading over some of the things you're gonna toss out, I thought about this one, and I guess I kind of thought my, not rock bottom, but I was my ego, just everything took a hit after my relationship in college fell apart.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really thought I was gonna marry this person, and I had everything planned out. We had everything planned out, and that was hard to muscle through for a while, but in hindsight it was so much easier, because I'm like, Gab, you were young, like you had your life ahead of you, so at some point it was a little bit easier to move past that.
Yeah.
I think that my struggle has been recently.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the thick of it right now, and I wish I had like the other end of the tail to be like, this is how I brought it all back together. But I'm like running through that wall right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to find my direction and let go of some of the regret I have in maybe career choices I've made, or even just relationship choices I made, because I'm upset with myself because I feel like I might have made another bad decision that I feel I should have, or I just overstayed the expiration date.
Yeah.
Of a relationship, and I'm so disappointed in myself that that's where I'm having a hard time, because I'm like, you're an imposter. You run this organization. You help other people. You should know your worth. You should know what's going to serve you and what's not. You should have seen right away. Like, you make bad decisions. So I'm in a place right now where I'm working through that negative cycle, because then it filtrates into everything else. Because once you get on one negative, you're like, and I'm a shit host, and I can't do sideline reporting for real. I can't be a real singer. I'm not funny enough to do stand-up. I'm too old to be a model. The negative, well, it can just broken record if you let it. So I am actually battling through some of that self-doubt right now, and that sort of imposter syndrome is like hitting me hard right now, because I'm like, you're a jack of all trades, but you're a master of none. Like, I can get really hard on myself for feeling like I never took anything to the next level.
Yep.
And I don't know if is it your fear of failure? Is it your commitment to not give up anything because you want to be able to do them all, so like you're not going to go all in on one? I don't know what it is, if I just don't know my direction as much. A lot of people know what they want to do. I never was one of those kids who was like, I want to be a singer. I want to be a doctor. That wasn't me. I never had a dream. If anything, I just threw some stuff at the wall at post-graduation, and I've just made it up on the fly and started developing what my interests are and nurturing those, and have seen where they have taken me. But a lot of times I do feel a little sheepish that I don't have a super set goal that I'm just can't sleep at night about, like how you were saying, the thing that keeps you up. I don't know if it's just because I'm in a confidence lull, or if I like genuinely don't have that goal and I don't know what it is. Type deal. This
episode is 1000% going to be the first episode on this podcast, because I think what you just said, I don't know if I've ever been able to empathize with anything so closely, because that is exactly how I feel every single day of my life. And I think what ends up happening is don't get too down on yourself with the old imposter syndrome, because as somebody like you and I myself as well, I'm a personal trainer, so every single day I'm giving advice and I'm giving motivation and I'm telling people wake up early and work and just keep putting the work in. As someone who has developed this persona who takes on the responsibility of giving advice to people and sharing our experience with people, we need to remember that that doesn't mean we're perfect. That
Right.
means that we have seen the error in our ways in the past, and all we're trying to do is to explain that, right? So it's to break that down and give that as a gift to whoever we're talking to. That doesn't mean this is 100% who I am every single day. That almost means I find myself giving advice 90% of the time so that I can hear it. It's almost like I'm
Right.
telling you so that I can tell me, because I need it.
Mhm.
If you need it, cool. If this helps you out, cool. But I'm telling you because I got to hear it. And I got to make sure that that hits home and it stays home. Because I wake up late. I eat like shit. I skip a workout. I'm human. We're all humans, right?
Right.
But the difference is we see that, right? We see the error. We see what we don't want. I know what I don't want. I just don't know what I want. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So now
That's how I feel.
yeah. So now I'm chasing stand up. I'm making music all of a sudden. I do. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a writer. I'm an actor. I've got this podcast. I love coding on the computer. I like writing a blog.
Oh, okay.
I like writing a blog. I like doing all of these things that I think what I'm going to do now is keep doing them and then see how they merge. Just
Mhm.
keep trying to see how they merge. And instead of getting down on ourselves on, oh, I didn't have a direction, I don't have a direction, I think it's almost beautiful in the sense of we're not limiting ourselves. Our options are still open. So when something does fall in, it's like we left all the windows open. Something
Mhm.
come in. And when something comes in and you just wrestle that baby to the ground, maybe this is your skunk. You're looking for your skunk to jump through the alleyway window. You'll get it. Yeah, so I think there's a lot more people out there that can relate to us. I just think it's a very scary thing to verbalize and to make real.
Yeah.
I think having a direction and being like, this is the one thing, this is the road for me, and this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life is easy because now you're on a path, right? Whereas I think people like us, we kind of walk through the woods. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then we hit a tree and we're like, ah, shit. It's just like you just walk in this way and there's all these trees in the way, but you got the whole forest rather than like a beaten path. So you're just trying to get to the other side. But once that opens up, every time you hit a tree, it's just like knowledge. So no matter what happens, whether this venture fails or the next venture fails, you just take this bag of tools that you learned from all those hiccups and all those hurdles you had to jump over, and you just go right to that next thing with all that experience, all that data, all that information you had from that, and you're just on to the next. So I think it's a great gift, and it's a huge positive rather than negative, which is what we tend to view it as. Trust me, I can empathize with you. How do we find you, Gab Kreuz? We're going to wrap this up. This was the coolest hour I've had all quarantine. This is super fun.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm the Sports Gab on Twitter, Gabriella Kreuz on Instagram. I think that's all. No, I have a Facebook page, Gabs a lot, for our different demographic. But yeah, you can find me on social media.
Nice. Real quick, one piece of advice you would give anybody trying to stay focused into what they actually want. How are you going to tell someone to stay focused and stay on the path?
This is one thing I need to hear from myself too, so this is why I got to dish it out. Don't wait till you feel motivated.
Thanks for tuning into the OI Podcast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you're listening. Visit us at www.theoipodcast.com. See you next week. Peace.